Hey, hey, hey. Time for the Out of This World story from rSpace. Nothing like a conference abroad to learn, network, and single-handedly ruin your career. Today on rSpace, when breaking the glass ceiling really just means breaking marital vows. Wife asked for money to further her career, used it to further her affair. I made sure there was no career at the end of it. I think that my wife is cheating on me, but I don't know how to prove it. So I'm here in bad need of advice from anyone else who can figure it out. My family members are relatively conservative, and it's not the kind of thing that I'd want to run by them, especially because I know their own advice will be too intense for me to realistically follow. To start with, I, 33 male, have been married to my wife, Tomi, 32 female, for 6 years. Since the time we met, it was clear that she wanted a part of the corporate scene, and I was happy for her when she was able to get a role in marketing at a pretty well-known company. She started in an entry-level role, but over the years, through hard work and a lot of effort, she's been able to climb the ranks quite a bit. I genuinely love it for her. The problem that I'm facing now is that I can no longer feel so great about her advances in her career because something just seems off to me, and I don't know enough to be able to reach a solid conclusion about her or the parts of her life that I can't see. I've always taken her to be a lover girl and the kind who focuses on the man that she's with, but I'm afraid now that her exposure to a lot of people who live fast lives might have corrupted her to some degree. She told me that there was a conference coming up, and as someone who tries her best to learn in marketing, she wanted to attend it. The problem was that it was taking place in a different country. She really wanted to go, and she was confident that her company would give her paid time off specifically for that, but they wouldn't cover the actual cost as she had already attended a similar conference earlier in the year, and it had been paid for entirely by them. She asked me for the money to go. She wanted to fly business class, since she had become used to it, and she was likely going to stay in a really nice hotel. So she asked for $3,000. She typically has her own money, but she had literally just put a payment down on a new car. So I knew she was a little strapped for cash, and she didn't want to run her account into the red before payday came by. It's my wife, so there was no reason for me to worry too much about it. Once she had got paid in a week or some days, she made it clear that she'd pay me off, and that was fine. For the most part, I wasn't worried, but it randomly occurred to me that one day, that even though she had bought a new car, it was hard to explain why she could pull out $3,000. She was the kind of person, working in corporate America, who was smart with money. The last time we had talked about money, she had quite a bit of money saved. Even after I deduct the down payment, I can't figure out why she had come to borrow the money for the trip from me. I asked her about it, and it might have just been in my head, but she seemed dodgy. She didn't want to admit to exactly how much was left in her bank account, but she said that the down payment had really taken a lot out of her, which I already knew. And then she added that a family member had asked for a financial favor. She didn't mention that the first time. I chose not to keep asking questions because there's a point at which it would become obvious that I didn't believe her, and I felt like she had the right not to feel scrutinized, especially since I was operating on what was nothing but a feeling. On a separate day, when she was talking about the conference, I asked her if anyone she knew was going. I didn't ask with any ulterior motive because if you're going to a new country, it'd be nice to not be alone in all the activities going on at the conference. I noticed hesitation before she said that she didn't know anyone else who would be there. It wasn't the kind of question that a person has to think about. It didn't make any sense to me to have to think about the answer to that. And that was the point when I realized that there had to be something that she is hiding from me. She hasn't gone for the conference yet, but I'm starting to worry. I haven't had any reason to doubt her as strongly as this before, and while we tend to communicate quite well with one another, I don't want to speak out now because I'm afraid that the truth will get locked up for good if she realizes that I'm suspicious. I have never felt this kind of way about her before, and I'm really going with my gut here. I could be very, very wrong, and if I am, I'll accept that I was just unnecessarily paranoid. But for now, I need advice on the things I can check or the questions that I can ask to get the truth, especially before she actually goes to travel. I think the biggest thing that a married woman would want to hide from her husband is an affair, and I really want to hope that it's not that, as I've never had a reason to suspect that she's cheating on me. Edit. Thank you for all of your comments. One major trend I saw was people saying I should go the classic route and check her phone. I think the reason why that wasn't one of my first options is because it can be hard, and to be honest, I'm very anxious about getting caught while I'm doing it. However, I will try to do that because if the truth of what she needs the money for is anywhere, it will be there. Update 1. I wrote a post some days ago about my wife Tomi, who was going to a marketing conference in another country and borrowed some money from me to get that to happen. The truth didn't add up in terms of her finances, and she seemed to hesitate when I asked her if she'd meet anyone she knew at the conference. And all of that put doubt in my mind. After my previous post, a lot of you suggested that I check her phone, which was something that I considered but didn't want to do. However, at the end of the day, I realized it was the only real way for me to potentially get the truth, so I did that. It took me a while, but by the time I did, it was about 5 days off from the conference she is meant to go for. I had to sneak up beside her side of the bed to grab her phone while she was sleeping. I chose a night when she had a few glasses of wine because I knew that would make her less prone to waking up. I don't know why, but the first place that I chose to go was her emails. As someone who lives a very corporate life, it just felt like she'd try to correspond with her affair partner in her emails if he existed. I didn't see any evidence of him there, but I saw her hotel and flight bookings, as well as her conference registration. At that point, I really wanted to put her phone down because everything seemed to align with what she had told me. But I went straight to her messages too, and that was when I was glad that I hadn't given up the search. There was a conversation with a guy saved as Derek. I went through a lot of that conversation, and I couldn't find anything that was sexual between the two of them, but it was clear that they were talking about the conference that she was going for. And it seemed like he was going too, because she told him the day and time she'd be arriving in that country, as well as the hotel that she was going to be staying at. The conversation didn't have anything about work when I scrolled to the very top, and it was clear that they hadn't even known each other for up to 6 months. He wasn't a coworker, and he wasn't anyone who I knew. It made no sense why he had to know so much about her trip. I instantly suspected that he was going to be at the conference with her. I didn't know who he was, but I knew that there was something wrong, and she wasn't meant to be talking to him, even with how devoid of sexual remarks that the conversation was. I wanted to know if there was anything going on with her before she went on the trip because I wanted to stop it if there was. However, since my last post, I think I've changed my mind on that. What I have doesn't prove anything. It's not worth staying in a relationship if you think that your woman is cheating. I already have trust issues, and I'd rather put my energy into proving them beyond a doubt so that I can end things for good. I want to make sure there is truly an affair going on, and if there is, then I can end things. However, if there isn't a relationship and she comes back with nothing different, then I can just work over my own issues and continue to live happily ever after with her. For now, though, I will get a PI in the country that she's going to. I will pay what it takes to have the PI trail her in a place where she thinks she is completely safe and away from prying eyes, and I'll be able to find the full truth there. She is literally leaving for the conference in a little over 24 hours, and I have a few PI candidates that I'm planning to hire. I need to get one who is very, very good at his job, figure out payment, and then wait. But that's the approach I'm going for, and I truly think that it is going to work out, whether I find out nothing or exactly what I think that she's up to. You have every right to be suspicious. Borrowing $3,000 for a trip she claimed her savings could cover, dodging simple questions about who she'd see there, and keeping a guy you don't know updated on her travel plans are all red flags. Update 2. You can refer to my last post if you need to catch up on everything that I've been going through in my attempts to catch my wife, who I suspected was cheating on me. She traveled for her conference, and before she even did, I had a PI who I had chosen off of very good reviews. He told me that being asked to track people by clients who weren't even in his country wasn't entirely new for him. So payment wasn't a hassle for me. I fought the urge to pester him over the 3 days that she was there for the trip, and I waited very patiently for the end of it, because I wanted him to bring every last one of his findings my way. In the end, things turned out exactly as I feared they would. To be honest, I felt a little bit of relief and satisfaction because the more that I thought about it, the more I was convinced that she was cheating on me. To hear that she actually was, despite how it was about to change my life for the worse, felt relieving. I don't pray for that anyone finds themselves in a situation with someone who acts like your soulmate when you're around but wants to be with someone else when you're not. The way it hurts can't be described. To cut to the chase, when the conference was over and she was on her way back home, the PI reached out to me and let me know that he had done all his findings and surveillance. That was when I learned that she had indeed been cheating on me. There was no way to know how long it had been going on for, or whether that was the first time that it had happened, but she had been moving through the city with a man who the PI had taken several pictures of. They stayed in the same hotel for the time that she was there, and she had only popped into the conference on one occasion. That made sense, because I had multiple photos she had sent me over the days that she was there, and I assumed she simply walked around the conference and took all of them so that she could post them throughout her stay. They had spent the days going to museums, places to eat, and shopping. He had pictures of all of that, too. He had also found out the guy's name and discovered that he was a married man who lived in that country, also worked in marketing, and had 3 children. That part shouldn't have been a shock to me because if you're a married woman who wants to cheat, it shouldn't be weird to me that you'd have no hesitation to make your affair partner a married man. For some reason, it just made the whole thing worse to me. He let me know that the assessment he could make from the whole thing was that the conference had only been a cover for her to meet up with her affair partner. There didn't seem to be much basis to believe that she'd actually intended to attend the conference and then changed her plans afterward. I have never been that mad in my entire life. I thanked him as quickly as I could because I was getting angrier the longer that I was on the call with him. I didn't think I can explain how it feels to actually confirm that your partner is cheating on you, especially when you uncover all the lies that it took them to get it to happen without your knowledge. When you realize that your wife has no problem lying to you, it becomes impossible to ever trust them again. And that was it for me. It wasn't possible for me to trust her ever again, and even if I was going to be a weak man and choose to take her back, that was enough for me not to. When she got back, she was in a great mood. I asked how the conference went, and she answered as if she had gone. She said that she had used some free hours to go shopping, and she gave me some souvenirs, including a wallet from a designer brand. I told her that she didn't have to, but she was all smiley and claimed that it was never too much for her baby. I did my best to conceal my mood, but as soon as I could, I looked up divorce lawyers. Once I found a good one, I sent an email to book an appointment for as soon as possible. I kept up the act as best I could around her until the divorce papers were ready. It was a weekend when I confronted her. I brought up the conference again, which I'm sure took her off guard because we had basically already moved past it at that point. I asked her a lot of questions about how it went, and she had a lot to say to make it seem like she actually attended. I very casually told her that she was lying, and I think how casual I said it made her unsure of whether she heard me. I said it again, and she didn't say anything. I know the gears were turning. She wanted to try and figure out how much I knew or how I knew, but I wasn't going to give that away. I let her know that we didn't need to talk about it, but I handed her the divorce papers. Talking about it would only be for the sake of my own curiosity. It would let me know her excuses or the reasons why she had chosen to do what she did. Besides that, it wouldn't change anything. So did it really matter? It was when she went through the papers and saw that they were real that she started to panic. She begged me to let her explain the situation. I told her I didn't want to hear her explanation because it would be full of lies. She had lied so much already. I knew everything already. She said it wasn't what it looked like. She said it was a fling. She said he was an old friend. She kept changing her story over and over. She was flustered, and it was pathetic seeing her like that because she was always very well put together most of the time. And since she didn't know what I knew, she said something that happened to clue me in on something new. She said, "Even though the company paid for it, I borrowed the money because I wanted to surprise you." It took me a while to understand what that meant, but I realized that the company had already paid for the conference, just like they did with the last one. She had borrowed $3,000 to fund the luxury shopping that she and her affair partner had done, and it was probably what was left that she used to buy me the wallet. To say that I was furious would be an understatement. I felt like my head was pounding. I was so angry and I wanted to release the anger on her, but I had to call on all of my self-control. Eventually, when I couldn't, I just walked out on her while she was halfway through a sentence. I can't recall what she was saying because I wasn't even paying attention at that point. I walked around the neighborhood and I just kept walking and digesting my thoughts until I felt like I was at a point when I could be in the same place as her. That was over 2 hours later. When I got back, I calmly told her to pack her things and be gone in the morning. I said nothing else to her and locked myself in the guest bedroom. She called me and knocked on the door a few times, but in the morning she was gone, and that was what mattered. We've started a divorce, and I'm going to make sure that I get everything that belongs to me from her. If I can leave her with nothing, I will. Update 3. This will be my final update because I think things have reached a point where I can say that they have naturally concluded. I'm through with my divorce from Tommy, and I was even able to get my own revenge in. I feel like finishing the story here will give me a degree of closure, so I'm looking forward to finishing this. First off, in the actual divorce, things went exactly as you might have expected. She wanted an equitable split of our money, and she wanted the house on top of it. We earned the same for the most part, but she wanted to get alimony too. It was small, but she still wanted it, and that pissed me off. I had my evidence of her cheating and all the lies that she had told to get things to that point. I had evidence of the money she asked me for. I also fought pretty intensely for the house because it was the biggest thing on the table and I refused to let her have it. I made the move for us to buy it and I considered it to be in an area where we'd make a lot on it in some years. Fortunately, I was able to get the house, though I paid her split based on current market value. We kept our individual cars, there was no alimony, and I also got her to pay me back the fees I spent on the PI as well as the money she had borrowed from me. I got to keep the designer wallet since she had given it to me as a gift. That was fun. After the divorce, the next thing I did was to send all of the evidence I had to the wife of the man she had been cheating on me with. I had his full name and knew what he looked like, so I was able to find his wife without even needing to reach out to the PI again. I sent her a very long message explaining everything. It took her a while to respond, but when she did, she said she wasn't surprised. She said he had been like that before they married, and he claimed he had changed, but she had her suspicions. She thanked me for letting her know, and she said that she was done with him. I don't know whether she'll choose to forgive him like she did previous times, but ultimately, I guess that doesn't matter to me. The final thing I did was to report her to her workplace. Not only was she on company time having an affair, but she had basically wasted the company's money by having them pay for her to attend the conference and spending no more than 40 minutes there, according to the timestamps on the pictures. I was told that the situation was going to be investigated, and weeks later, she was let go from the role. She was good at her job, but she wasn't irreplaceable. When she called me, asking me whether I had something to do with her getting fired, I told her I didn't. Did she think that the company had no way to know if her only representative didn't show up at the conference they were meant to attend? She said she was convinced it was me, and I told her that even if it was, there was nothing she could do about it. She deserved more pain than losing her job. She basically stole from her company, so her references will be crap, and that puts a smile on my face. I'm glad to be done with her and done with this part of my life. I'll have to do my best to heal from this fully, but I'm already on the path to that, and for that much, I am grateful. Turning a professional conference into a personal shopping spree with her affair partner, lying through every question, and then having the nerve to give you a designer wallet as a sweet gesture? Oof, what a kick in the pants. The best part, though, is she completely torched her credibility. I mean, anyone who saw the truth now knows she's someone you literally cannot trust. Her reputation is in shreds, her career took a hit, and the illusion that she was ever even remotely decent? Gone. Poof. Gotta love it. Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time.